We are back once again on the Cowboys Report, at home edition this time, because the Cowboys have made another free agent signing, a second outside free agent signing. This one is Robert Jones, who had spent this past 4 years actually, with the Miami Dolphins. He has started games at guard. That doesn't actually mean he is a good guard. We'll break down the signing here. I don't anticipate this one will get a push notification on YouTube, so help me out. Share today's video on social media. Twitter's now up and running again, so you can tweet it. Facebook, Instagram, whatever, text it. Appreciate the support here as we break down the Robert Jones signing. This is a 1-year deal worth up to $4.75 million. Two things I want to make note of off the bat. Not a good starting option. I don't want to actually play Robert Jones big time money. This is kind of more in line with Chuma Edoga, but more at guard, and I don't necessarily love that thing either. I also want to point this part out. Up to 4.75 might be kind of carrying the load there. I wouldn't be overly shocked if this ends up being, not a ton of actual money. We don't know the guaranteed money yet. I am very curious what that guaranteed figure looks like. Does it come in at, half of the up to figure? Does it come in less than that? Because if it's not more than that. If it's under $2 million, I actually don't think he's guaranteed a roster spot. So you could very well have a Chuma Edoga-esque signing in year one where he was not guaranteed a roster spot. Kind of funny seeing Josh Jones just now get the exact same contract from Seattle, by the way. But it is a 1-year, up to $4.75 million deal to give the Cowboys an additional option at guard. This is someone that, if injuries happen, I hope in theory, that he could sub it and play. I would kind of rather see what TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman have to offer full-time at guard. Jones, as we'll get into, mostly played left guard last year for Miami, but he's played right guard in the past for the Miami Dolphins. We'll spend some more time breaking this one down, but I want honest answers on this question, because I think it's a fair question to ask. Before you saw the alert, whether it was YouTube, Twitter, whatever, had you heard of Rob Jones before this? Is this a player that you were intimately familiar with or not? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me at the pinned comment if the ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Is someone I've heard of, and this just screams backup offensive lineman, and that's at this point with the salary cap, less than $5 million, up to 4.75 is just kind of the going rates for your 6th or 7th offensive lineman on your roster. That's just what it costs. It doesn't get me excited. It's not like, oh yeah, we got Rob Jones. I'd have been a lot more excited about Will Hernandez, but he might end up being a little bit more expensive, and I would bet he ends up being more expensive. I think this is probably your main move on the offensive line. He played some tackle in college. He was a right tackle at Middle Tennessee State, I believe, but he's even a guard in the NFL. He played 1,000+ snaps this past year at left guard, has played some right guard in the past, briefly some right tackle all the way back in 2021, but this past year he had more snaps than anyone else had combined. Of notes, it's kind of funny. I'm just looking at the PFF grades right now. His second highest graded game this year was the Cardinals, which, of course, you just brought over Clayton Adams from your offensive line. So, maybe that's a connection or something that stood out to them. But 5 sacks this past year for Jones, 4 hits, 19 hurries, 28 pressures. It's just not that good. And there were some up and down games. The Dolphins' offense at times had real issues along the offensive line. I think schematics were an issue there too, and having Tua was an issue there as well. But I don't see someone who I want to start real games with Like, this just kind of sounds like we've got another option. At left guard, God forbid, so it happens to Tyler Smith, you can plug him in there. And you've got additional competition at right guard. But I don't think, kind of like the Javonte Williams deal, that this would preclude you from adding anybody in the draft if someone was there in the early rounds you wanted to go get. Again, I do want to see the guaranteed money. I don't have the details, but this says depth and competition. This does not say fixed our problems. That's not how I interpret this particular move. So grade the signing of Robert Jones. 1 year up to $4.75 million. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Grade that signing as best as possible. I emphasize as possible because I don't know what the guaranteed money is yet. And that matters a lot to me. Because if this is 1 year, 4.75, fully guaranteed, I don't know about that one. If this is 1 year, you got $1 million signing bonus, a $2 million base salary, and there's an additional $1.75 million in like playing time incentives and stuff, like, okay, that's fine. I don't mind that one at all. But just like, I want to see what the contract stuff looks like. I've seen Clayton Adams get more out of offensive linemen than other teams and have gotten out of the exact same players. So I'm inclined to trust that. But this is not a like, wow, I got Robert Jones. Like, it's like, okay, that's fine. They did something. I prefer the Javonte Williams deal. It's cheaper. I think it's more impactful. This one is just kind of like, okay, offensive linemen are expensive. Your moves being Javonte Williams coming off a down year and Robert Jones becoming a starter for the first time full time and like being like mediocre. That's not moving the needle. I think for me or for a lot of the Cowboys fan base, if you do like 4 or 5 other things, like you go get a corner, you go get a linebacker, you go get whatever. I am not terribly upset by that. And I will say this too on Jones. I am very curious if this means anything for the Cowboys' offensive scheme. Because Robert Jones is a power player. Like that is what he's best at when he's kind of a downhill, run-blocking offensive guard. That was not what the Dolphins did on offense. They are a, almost pace and space type of offense, to borrow an NBA term. Like I think he can do some good stuff. Downhill run blocker, with some size, and you put him and Terrence Steele over there on the right side. That's a pretty big duo at right guard, assuming he moves over to right guard. He's just a pure backup at left guard. But I do think this is another indication of they want to get back to some different offensive schematic stuff on the ground, and they'll probably do some more duo stuff. I think he fits pretty well in trying to clear off duo blocks with Terrence Steele. If he starts, I don't know if he's going to start. I have doubts that would end up being the case for Jones. I hope he doesn't start. I kind of want to see what Hoffman and Bass can do. But, it's competition. It's another option along the offensive line. Now you don't feel like you have to draft another guard because you've got Guyton, you've got Tyler Smith, you've got Cooper Beebe, you have Brock Hoffman, you have TJ Bass, you have Terrence Steele, you have Austin Richards. Now you add Robert Jones to the mix. We'll see if Nathan Thomas ends up doing anything for you. I guess technically speaking, Matt Waletzko still exists on the Cowboys roster, but that just like half the time I feel like he's there because that was the Amari trade. You can't give up on that one already. Earl Bostic is there. Who are the reserve deals? Jack Anderson, whatever. So maybe this ends up being like offensive lineman 8, offensive lineman 9. Cool, it's fine. It's a little bit pricey, but you don't feel like you have to draft somebody now. I feel like you can afford to not have to go down that path and be like, oh man, no, we got to have somebody locked in here. Whatever. So I think that's fine in the end for the Cowboys, but I think I speak for people. I need more. I need more than just that particular move. So give me your one-word reaction to the Cowboys signing of Robert Jones. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. More news as the Dallas Cowboys have signed their third outside free agent. This time it is Solomon Thomas, who in a way kind of gets his longtime wish to come back to the Dallas area. He is signing a 2-year deal worth up to $8 million. I will again emphasize the up to on that part here in a little bit. But this is the plan for today. Obviously, we're going to break down the signing of Solomon Thomas. Then we will be live in less than an hour on the Cowboys Report. We'll be simulcasting our Cowboys and NFL free agency coverage. So hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV for more free Cowboys YouTube videos. Plus the live stream coming up in less than an hour. Now, Solomon Thomas comes in, and my guess here is that this is going to be, and we'll go more in depth on it, your Chauncey Golston type replacement. A guy that can play on the inside, can play on the outside, has done a variety of different roles over the course of his NFL career. He's almost had even splits in terms of his rotation usage at 3 technique, at more of a 5 technique, and more of an outside defensive end, kind of that edge rusher type there. He has spent the last 3 years as a member of the New York Jets organization. He was the former very highly drafted pick out of Stanford with the San Francisco 49ers. The play got better the last 2 years. I think the just sheer production alone indicates that. 7 TFLs, 5 sacks, 5 TFLs, 3.5 sacks on less than 500 snaps, all of which is relatively solid as a pass rusher. There's the occasional, especially this year, they're a little more on the missed tackle side, which was kind of a red flag. What was most noteworthy to me for the Jets there is he played a lot of more 5 technique stuff, and then kicked inside. Wasn't playing a ton of pure on the outside. Was kind of more of that base defensive end role for the Jets, which is an obvious need because the Cowboys just lost Chauncey Golston late last night to the Giants on a much more expensive deal. I want to mention this here again, by the way. Up to $8 million. As of filming, I have not seen any contractual details on what the guaranteed money is, everything else. That almost always means it's probably not going to actually be $8 million. This one might very well come in more like $6 million. And this would be in kind of what I expect. I haven't seen the details yet on the Robert Jones signing either. Another $3-ish million cap hit. So you've done that 3 times now with Javonte Williams. I bet Robert Jones comes in similar. And I bet Solomon Thomas's cap is probably less than 3. It's probably more of a $3 million per year deal. Let's see what the guaranteed money is too. Because I am curious. This kind of reminds me of hopefully a better, bigger version of the Terrell Basham signing all those years ago. So pin comments on today's show. Do you like the signing of Solomon Thomas? Y for yes, N for no. It is the pin comment, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I'm actually very much on board with this. Thomas is not going to be a high-end impact player. He's not going to get you double-digit sacks, but his production over the last couple years has not been that dissimilar to what we saw from Chauncey Golston this past year. I mean, shoot, the 2023 numbers for Thomas were a little bit better than the Chauncey Golston numbers this past year. He knows Aaron White-Cotton. This gives you depth along the defensive line. This gives you options at both edge and I think defensive tackle in various situations. He will do the dirty work for you. He's not going to be some crazy elite high-level player, but he does do dirty work for you. And this is important to me, assuming he does play some kind of base defensive end stuff, because you can look at what the Cowboys have right now under contract, right now, along this defensive end room, where you've got Micah Parsons. Okay, he's back. Awesome. Cool. DeMarcus Lawrence is a free agent. We'll see if that ends up returning to the Cowboys or not, and what that ends up looking like in the end there. TBD. Marshawn Kneeland is back, but Marshawn Kneeland last year didn't have a single sack. Sam Williams didn't have a sack last year because he missed the entire season. Carl Lawson's a free agent. Tyrus Wheat is back. Luigi Villain and Ernest Brown are like depth guys. You have a half sack under contract outside of Micah Parsons at defensive end, and now, of course, Solomon Thomas. I think getting that type of dirty work player is a smart thing for your defensive line, for your edge rushing room, and as we'll go into more in depth here later, you can always kick him inside as well, onto the interior of the defense line. So he has the size for it. I don't think he actually played it to an $8 million deal, up to $8 million deal for the Dallas Cowboys and Solomon Thomas, as they went offensive heavy back-to-back days yesterday, and now back on the defensive side of the ball as they get Solomon Thomas to help round out some interior help. And I think there is the possibility he plays some on the inside too. It would be frankly a little bit weird if he didn't play a ton on the inside. I know coming out of the NFL at the NFL draft he was 237. I think had some good size. He's added some weight because lost some weight because flexibility there. This is someone that you can put at defensive end on early downs and kick inside on passing downs, just like you were doing with Chauncey Golston. The production is not that dissimilar from Golston. It's a player that Aaron Whitecotton, the new defensive coordinator or D-line coach, knows very well, and I think will do dirty work. I kind of think it makes it like a sneaky, key signing. We'll see if it's good or not, but I think a sneaky one to add a type of player that you needed on this Cowboys team. So grade the signing, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. A, B, C, D, or F. You can be honest. If you want to complain, I get that. That's fine too. Grade the signing. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Now, Solomon Thomas, between Javonte Williams, I think I like the Javonte one a little bit more. I like this one better than the Robert Jones signing. It's also going to be, I would assume, less per year. In a bubble, I have no complaints about really any of the moves this Cowboys team is in. If you have that graphic, by the way, you can go to it, Chris. Oh, perfect. I don't have a ton of complaints with those three pickups that they've made outside free agency moves. I have no complaints about bringing back Trent Sig on what amounts to a little bit more than the vet minimum type of contract there. But this can't be all. I can't. This team cannot just continue to live in the under $5 million per year contract range. That's just not going to work. They have to be willing to do more things. You can't just be like, we lost Jordan Lewis, we lost Chuma Dogo, we lost Chauncey Golston. Is Golston really any type of downgrade, upgrade for Solomon Thomas? I'm not really sure. I don't see there's a ton of difference there. Jordan Lewis is a huge loss. I think Rico Dowdle is better than Javonte Williams, but saving money doesn't really matter if you're not making your team better when you have all this cap space. So all these signings in a bubble, I'm fine with. But you have to do more. And that's kind of always been the main thing for me in NFL free agency. This one is fine, but what else are you going to do? I do this. I know Solomon Thomas wanted to be back in Dallas. He's from Coppell, Texas. I think he's been looking for a chance to get back to the area. He spends all of his offseason in Dallas as well. So I'm sure he's happy to be home, so to speak, and get to come back to the Dallas Cowboys and play for the team I'm pretty sure he grew up as a fan of. So that's cool and everything. But they have to do more. They can't just sign these the PFF grades weren't very good, the production was down, but we won the deal. That's fine. You're not paying very much. You have to go do more than that. So will the Cowboys do more? I don't know. You were never going to bring back Chauncey Golston. We'll see about Tank Lawrence. I have some doubts there. I think you still need defensive tackle help too, like an actual big fat guy on the interior to help stop the run. This kind of replaces Golston for me, but corner's still a huge need. Still looking for wide receiver help. Still need linebacker help. These are little baby steps, but you're not 3 anymore or 2. You need to have more actual adult steps, actual toddler steps. So this is fine, but I need more. I need a lot more, frankly, from the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see what else happens today. Live again in less than an hour, so hit that sub